Coming to you from a cozy little condo high atop Old 4th Ward, Atlanta. Welcome to The Ron Show on America One Radio. Here's your host, Ron Roberts.
Hello, and thank you for listening, whether it's on America One Radio, Progressive Voices via TuneIn, or wherever you podcast. He is now in the Georgia governor's race, and he is the presumed front-runner. He is Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, Republican from Georgia. Here is his campaign rollout.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. Let's go for a little ride.
Of course, pickup truck in the country.
Today I see Georgia where families are prospering. A Georgia where businesses are moving here and growing here. A Georgia where our families are safer thanks to tougher crime laws. And our schools strengthened thanks to empowering parents' rights.
Working for the families of Georgia, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones has brought real conservative leadership that has protected our freedoms, our values, and our families. And Burt Jones has worked closely with President Trump, helping Georgia make America great again.
What do I call all that we've accomplished together? Just the start. Because our work's not done yet, and that's why I'm running for governor. Number one, we're going to completely eliminate the state income tax. Tennessee and Florida have done it, and I'll get it done for Georgia. It will mean more money for you and more companies wanting to move here.
Burt Jones will also end the fentanyl nightmare affecting so many Georgia families, including providing increased drug education in our schools and the ultimate penalty for fentanyl dealers who kill with their poison.
I'm also going to make sure we keep a ban on biological boys from playing in girls' sports. And if anyone doesn't like that, they can move to California.
Burt Jones's vision for Georgia is big and bold, and he knows a little about dreaming big, then reaching those dreams.
University of Georgia, I'm a bulldog through and through. When I graduated from high school, I had offers to play college football, but not from the University of Georgia, which is where I always dreamed of playing. They said I was too slow and too small, but I went there anyways.
Burt Jones tried out for the Bulldogs as a walk-on. Burt not only made the team, but he went on to become a captain on one of Georgia's championship teams.
I'm running for governor with that same attitude. Every day, I'm going to work hard and never quit fighting for your family and mine.
To join Burt Jones's team, go to burtjonesforga.com. Together, we will win.
I sure hope you decide to come along for the ride.
There you go. You got to have the noisy pickup truck. There's so many tropes in this that it's it's a lot to dissect. It really is. It's a lot. But listen, he is the presumed front runner, and he's going to come in with a ton of cash ready to roll. It'll be interesting to see how he is able to clear the field on the right. I really think that he is a field clearer on the right side. The monetary advantage alone, let me go to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. It reports that he has rolled out with $14 million in his leadership committee campaign. That is a Republican-backed fundraising tool that allows governors, lieutenant governors, and legislative leaders to raise unlimited cash. Well, so much for no money in politics. I mean, this is literally one of those scenarios where you have this tool that gives the haves the advantages over you or I, or Chris Carr. Listen, I'm not sitting here feeling sorry for Chris Carr, all right? He has about $3.5 million. In fact, that's exactly what the financial edge is. One reason Republican Attorney General Chris Carr entered the race extraordinarily early, joining the campaign just weeks after the November election. Carr disclosed on Monday that he's raised more than $3.5 million so far. You have about $1.1 million. This is on the left side of the aisle here, the Democrat. $1.1 million in Jason Estevez's coffers when he announced his fundraising disclosure. And former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, she too says, well, I have $1.1 million too. She loaned herself $200,000. Still, she's raised $900,000. But $14 million in Burt Jones' campaign coffers right away. Okay, so let's go back to the campaign video because I do want to sort of dissect some of the pros and cons that that come with that. He touts Georgia being the number one state for business development, and that's all fine and well. But you can't. It's hard to do that while aligning yourself with Donald Trump, right? J. Scott Truby, Kelly Yamanuchi in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reporting just hours ago this morning, by the way. President Donald Trump on Monday extended the pause on his Liberation Day tariffs to August 1st, but signaled he is ramping up pressure on countries to strike deals or face new rounds of tariffs. Trump announced 25% import tariffs will take effect next month on products originating from South Korea and Japan, two key trade partners for Georgia and the nation. As of late Monday afternoon, Trump posted copies of letters sent to leaders of at least 14 countries, and additional countries are expected to receive similar notices. But of the list, South Korea and Japan have the biggest trade ties to Georgia. 3 months ago, Trump put on hold most of the reciprocal tariffs he announced April 2nd, which he coined Liberation Day amid panic in the stock and bond markets. On Monday, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said Trump would sign an order extending the negotiating deadline on the reciprocal tariffs to August 1st, but the announcement of the new levies is likely intended to bring trade partners back to the negotiating table. Which means, by the way, that they're not taking the bait already. I mean, this is just more saber rattling. And the funny thing is, Wall Street had actually sort of become immune to all this nonsense. But when you start targeting major economic Asian countries like South Korea and Japan, I mean, yeah, obviously China's the big player. But when it comes to our allies, South Korea, Japan, stocks on Wall Street closed broadly lower Monday as the White House stepped up pressure on major trading partners to make deals before punishing tariffs imposed by the U.S. take effect. That would be the writing of AP business writer Alex Viega. The S&P 500 fell 0.8% for its biggest loss since mid-June. The benchmark index remains near an all-time high set last week. See, Wall Street had sort of gotten over the fact that Trump had kicked the can down the road for, 90 days back in April, but we were approaching that deadline, and now we kicked it back to August 1st, but also started targeting our bigger business partners, South Korea and Japan. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gave back 0.9%. The NASDAQ Composite also finished 0.9% lower, not too far from its own record high. The losses were widespread. Decliners outnumbered gainers by nearly 4-1 on the New York Stock Exchange. So Burt Jones announces he's running for governor and touts not only is Georgia the number one state for business development, but also his ties to Donald Trump. He then touted tougher crime laws for lower crime rates, making families safer, and then shows a mixed-race family. I don't think that's an accident or incidental. I mean, it's B-roll. It's just, stock footage, stock video that somebody bought somewhere. Let's see. He talked about empowering parents in the educational process. That is a dog whistle for removing historical accuracy. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah. Diversity, book bans. If you had to watch this video and it was a drinking game, taking a shot every time, you'd hear words like values, freedom. You'd have been hammered like about 90 seconds into this 2.5 minute, well-produced, very well-produced campaign introduction video. If I'd said you had to take a shot every time you saw Burt walking, hands moving while talking, blue jeans trucks, cowboy hats, there was even a horse, there were dogs, there was kids. Just check. He then spent an extraordinarily long amount of time talking about trans athletes in high school sport, or scholastic sports, I should say. Again, a solution that doesn't have a problem. He then went to dangle the big piece of red meat, and that is eliminating the state income tax. Who would be against having their income taxes eliminated altogether? We would all like that, right? In a perfect world, this is like limited government. We'd all like limited government, but there are those of us who are aware that there are inequities and long history in this country of marginalization and obstruction and bias and bigotry that have made the playing field unequal for all of us, no matter when we were born, who we were born to, where, et cetera, and so on. Let me take you to the Center for Public Integrity. This is Maya Surikshan and Melissa Heilman writing about eliminating the state income tax. This happened in Jackson, Mississippi. Arnia Edwards lives here because she wants to make a difference, but in the majority black city, long star for funding by the state's mostly white legislature, that's proved a steep challenge. The city's recent water crisis, she's speaking of Jackson, Mississippi, came after years of chronic underfunding of Jackson's aging water infrastructure. The stench lingers in Edwards' front yard after raw sewage flooded her home twice. Neither the city nor the state agreeing to help. Abandoned homes blemish her South Jackson neighborhood as residents fled for better funded communities. And at her nonprofit that prepares Jackson's youth for performing arts careers, she sees the results of cash-strapped schools when her kids struggle to read scripts and rap lyrics. Hang on, we're getting to it. Then Mississippi further sliced into its revenues to fund such needs by cutting income taxes in a way that mostly benefits its wealthiest, largely white residents. It's one of at least 19 legislatures, mostly white legislatures, that seized the opportunity to do so in the midst of budget surpluses. Does that sound familiar, Georgia? Fed by federal pandemic funding. The expected revenue hit, according to the state's own estimates, more than $10 billion in fiscal years 2023 and 2024. That's more than double the entire 2023 general revenue budget for the state of West Virginia, one of the states making cuts. Residents of Jackson, Mississippi, such as Edwards, say that the move to disproportionately lower what the wealthy pay in taxes will further undermine communities that suffer from disinvestment. You won't see that in Burt Jones' splashy video, though. Comes from that nice home out in the exurbs with the nice truck. Okay, back to the piece here about Jackson, Mississippi. They worry that more budget cuts will come for essential services like public education and infrastructure maintenance. Lower income residents, they warn, will be hurt the most. The wealthy tend to always look out for themselves, Edwards says. Oh yeah. $14 million in Burt Jones' war chest seems to indicate that he's well prepared to take care of the well-off. We'll have more on this conversation. The gubernatorial season in Georgia is officially afire. It's The Ron Show on America One Radio, Progressive Voices via TuneIn. You can follow The Ron Show on your preferred social media platforms at Ron Show ATL. We tend to do most of our surfing, Facebook, and honestly, the Twitter X platform. Instagram, we do that from time to time. That lends us to Threads, Substack, we're there. Blue Sky there. Haven't been on Blue Sky as much, I'm not going to lie to you. Only because I've been working on my side hustle. I say side hustle. It's actually been a lot of my attention here of late, launching my streaming audio station. And anyway, you can follow us at Ron Show ATL on all of those. Again, Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram. Those tend to be the ones that we get the most attention to. So Burt Jones is running to eliminate Georgia's state income tax. Tennessee and Florida have done it. Why can't we? Well, Tennessee and Florida, Mississippi, West Virginia, several states, all conservative-led, all looking to eliminate the state income tax. They like to, and Florida gets away with, and Tennessee to some degree too, tourism-driven states with economies that are driven by tourism, are essentially offloading their taxation onto guests, onto tourists. We have that to some degree in Georgia, but not to the degree that Tennessee with the Great Smoky Mountains and Florida with beaches and theme parks has. It's not the same. And to compare Georgia to those two states is a bit disingenuous. But by and large, this is what conservatives like to do. Cut income taxes. Of course, that disproportionately benefits those who make more income, right? I mean, you hear people talk, I want to eliminate the property tax. Okay. If you're going to eliminate the property tax, are you going to eliminate or make sure that the landlords eliminate that from the rent too? I mean, is anybody going to take that any further? Hey, I'm just asking questions here. Or are we just going to let those who have pocket disproportionately more? That is not, I'm not going to say that that's a MAGA thing. That is a conservative thing. It's been that way since Ronald Reagan. Let me go back to this story in Mississippi. I think this, the Center for Public Integrity, they're writing. Conservative groups funded by rich political donors push these tax cuts. It's a well-oiled machine working to ensure that the highest earners in every state pay as little in taxes as possible. A network that includes the American Legislative Exchange Council, known as ALEC, the State Policy Network, Americans for Prosperity, and their member groups have advocated for tax cuts efforts in at least 21 states in the past 2 years, while opposing efforts to raise taxes for the wealthy in at least 8 others, according to a Center for Public Integrity investigation. Their funding sources include billionaire Charles Koch and a dark money fund used by wealthy conservatives. The groups have it down to a science. Alex disseminates model bills. The State Policy Network puts out research and commentary promising economic benefits. You know, the glowing photos of the harbors and ports and the city skylines. Americans for Prosperity handles on-the-ground lobbying, and in a few cases, groups in their network sue. Mississippi House Speaker Philip Gunn, a Republican who sits on Alex's board, introduced the state's income tax cuts in 2022, something he had tried to pass before. Mississippi's tax structure already took a large share of income from its poor and middle-income residents than its richest, according to an analysis by the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy. That's common nationwide, driven by states' reliance on sales taxes that fall hardest on people with the least money. Oh, man, conservatives love to talk about consumption taxes. Consumption taxes disproportionately affect those who consume for survival. The main way to at least partially counterbalance that, income taxes with rates that increase as income does. The progressive income tax. This is what we rolled out in the early 20th century. And by the way, to great effect. Gunn's bill, Mississippi here, which a State Policy Network member group campaigned for and Alec lauded, would eliminate Mississippi's graduated rates and replace them with a flat tax. God. It passed the legislature in April 2022. Now everyone in the state pays the same income tax rate. That's right. The CEO of the hedge fund pays as much income tax as the janitor taking out the trash, vacuuming the carpets, mopping the floors. Does that seem fair to you? I've always argued those who have more and make more should pay more into all that makes their existence so posh, so cush to begin with. They get more. Look at it like homeowners insurance. Follow me here. If I have, I don't know, a $75,000 mobile home on a small piece of land, ain't worth much, my homeowner's insurance is going to be a lot less than the person who lives in the giant home on the giant piece of property on the lake in the gated community. Right? They have more to insure. They have to pay more. The insurance companies believe that. Shouldn't the governments that insure that quality of life also believe that as well? Of course they do. Back to the Center for Public Integrity. The gap between the share of income that people with the least and most money contribute to the government will worsen. According to an Institute for Taxation and Economic Policy Analysis, the state, Mississippi's highest income group, would receive an estimated $31,400 in tax cuts on average per year, while the lowest would get an average of $20. Not $20,000, $20. And yet, there are voters in that lower income tax threshold, white conservative voters, who are excited about the tax cuts that they're going to get. And they race to vote for the politicians who promise it to them. Suckers. Washington State, meanwhile, has tried to ease the burden on its lowest income residents from a system that disproportionately taxes them. But the same network of conservative organizations tried to stop that effort. Washington is one of only 9 states without an income tax and heavily relies on its high sales tax to fund its government. After a decade of attempts to make the system more equitable, the legislature in 2021 passed a tax on certain types of capital gains. The janitor doesn't need to worry about capital gains taxes. The hedge fund CEO? Oh, boy. The profit on sales or exchanges of assets, like stocks, over $250,000. The Freedom Foundation, a conservative think tank that's part of the State Policy Network, filed a lawsuit on behalf of Washington residents. Yes, all of them. Note sarcasm. Wink, wink. To overturn the tax before the governor had even signed the measure. There is a general hostility to taxation, considering it theft, which is false, said Lisa Graves, the executive director of True North Research, a progressive corporate watchdog group. The second component is tactical. They want to limit the power of government, state and federal, and one way is to limit their revenue to fund things like public schools. Burt Jones is running for office, touting that parents have more involvement in public schools. And yet, while Burt Jones was lieutenant governor, we didn't get rid of public schools, but we are siphoning money out of our public school fund so that kids can now attend private schools. And we're not just talking about poor kids. Back to the piece from the Center for Public Integrity. ALEC, Americans for Prosperity, and the Freedom Foundation did not respond to requests for comment. In blog posts, legislative testimony, and other public comments about their tax efforts, the group say that states benefit when taxes drop. Now, Burt Jones in that splashy campaign ad said that that'll mean more businesses will want to move here. But that's not true. Businesses move where schools are well-funded, infrastructure is well-maintained because it too is well-funded. Corporate taxes? Yes, you might be able to, in fact, we know this, incentivize businesses to move to states that can save money on corporate taxation. But their employees' income taxes? No, that doesn't move the needle for business nearly as much as Burt Jones wants you and everyone who's watching his splashy campaign ad, which apparently must have cost about $50,000 because I see in his campaign filing that Push Digital LLC donated $51,001 to his campaign. That's probably in kind for that fantastic video that came out. We will share that in the show notes, of course, at RonShowATL.com. Thank you for listening to The Ron Show on America One Radio and Progressive Voices via TuneIn.
Archived audio, blogs, social media links, and more, all in one place. Log on at RonShowATL.com. The Ron Show on America One Radio.
It's official. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones has announced that he's running for governor, and one of the big pieces of his, you know what? He actually spent more time focusing on the fact that he played football as a walk-on at the University of Georgia, which you've got to do. That's a big trope. And, you know, we have to talk about the whole Derek Dooley running for office here in the state of Georgia thing, too, by the way, but another time. Let me get back to one of the, I think, the big dangles of red meat.
Number one, we're going to completely eliminate the state income tax. Tennessee and Florida have done it, and I'll get it done for Georgia.
So that while driving the pickup truck through the country, of course. I mean, it's just checked off so many boxes. Oh, we've got the dad with the little boy on the shoulder, mom and the two other kids trailing behind from the giant home with the wraparound porch. Just, I mean, you couldn't have painted a more Rockwellian. It's a well done ad. I can't quibble with it. It's a well done ad. The income tax part is troubling. Back to the Center for Public Integrity. Multiple studies have found that income tax cuts, especially those that mostly benefit higher income households, don't have significant impacts on economic growth or unemployment, but they do increase wealth inequality. I bring that up because Burt Jones in that ad says that eliminating the state income tax,
it will mean more money for you and more companies wanting to move here.
Yeah, that doesn't bear fruit in multiple studies, my man. And here's the thing that's sort of disingenuous to me. These state income tax cuts, they're all Republican-led, conservative-backed, ALEC PAC organization-funded efforts to essentially give states the opportunity to cut income taxes that'll, of course, progressively benefit the wealthiest among us using federal tax dollars that were given to them 4 or 5 years ago. While also voting for Republicans at the federal level who are complaining about the debt and deficit. I mean, if this is, listen, if your states are awash in money, and Georgia is, I mean, what do we have, like $16 billion at a surplus here recently? I know that Governor Kemp and Republicans are trying to dole some of that back. Some of it, anyway. But if you're sitting on tens of billions of dollars and you're also complaining that Washington has gone crazy, tax and spend, taxes, why aren't you sending the money back? If it's not used, if you didn't use it for its intended purpose, and this was pandemic funding, the pandemic's over, right? Why aren't you giving it back? Huh? Anyone? Center for Public Integrity. The surpluses were largely created by federal pandemic aid and other factors, including consumers purchasing more goods than services, helping states because the former is taxed more than the latter. Members of Congress thought states might use the fleeting budget boost of the stimulus aid to cut taxes, and the law is written to prevent that. But states sued. A federal appeals court ruled that the provision was unconstitutional. So that set the stage for the flurry of states' income tax cuts passed in 2021, 2022, and 2023. Reversing a tax cut is politically unpopular. So when state budgets contract, cuts to public services follow. Public education is often one of the largest cuts, as K-12 education makes up a big chunk of state budgets. They're coming for your kids' education. They've been doing it. Lower income residents feel that most keenly because they don't have the money to, for instance, seek out a private school if their children's public schools are badly underfunded. Now, Georgia, again, passed its school voucher program. We all know that voucher doesn't make up the entirety of private school tuition, however. So if you're a family with kids and you don't have a dime to spare for your kids' tuition, that voucher is useless to you, but to those who can afford a little bit but would love that, it's just another tax cut for the well-off. Higher income residents often won't feel the same reduction in quality in their local schools, and they're the ones getting most of the benefit from the tax cuts. Remember, public schools are funded by local taxes, the county level. The better the county does, the higher the income value or property values are, the better the school systems. That's just how it works. There's no equity in school funding. The changes in tax policy will hit hardest in states where funding for public services already is low throughout the South. In Mississippi, they write, households with incomes below $30,000 will receive only 7% of the savings from its tax cut, despite making up more than half the state, according to analysis by the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center. Households making more than $100,000 will get 55% of the savings, even though they're just 12% of all households. Georgia's not going to be far off from that. Meanwhile, Mississippi will likely see a $419 million reduction in revenue every year on average, according to a forecast for the next decade produced by the University Research Center, a division of Mississippi Institutions of Higher Learning that studies state and local policies, which I'm sure probably got unfunded immediately after that. That revenue reduction is equal to salaries for 8,700 teachers at the state's average rate. 8,700 teachers. Or it's equal to state funding for childcare for more than 70,000 children. It is also equal to almost half of what state and local officials have estimated is needed to fix, for instance, Jackson's water system. This is no different than what Burt Jones is looking to do here in Georgia, and to detrimental effects for what are well-known, democratic, and diverse, that icky word, diverse populations. Larger cities, Atlanta, Augusta, Macon, Savannah, cities and counties with larger populations, especially those who, since the middle of the 20th century, have been reeling from economic calamity fed by white flight to the suburbs and exurbs that Burt Jones shot a lot of his video in, by the way. I didn't see a whole lot of tropes leading into the city. I really didn't. I didn't see anybody riding the subway to work. I didn't see anybody walking a large city streetscape. I saw none of that. A lot of it is suburban and exurban stuff. We know who he's talking to. We know who he's aiming for. And we know where these income tax cuts are going to disproportionately affect folks more than where he shot a lot of this footage. For example, and you could really apply this to any city of size. I could make it for Augusta. In fact, I grew up in Augusta, so I know Augusta like the back of my hand. I've lived in Atlanta since 2018. I feel like I know Atlanta pretty well. And being a child who grew up in the state of Georgia, I know Atlanta's history pretty well. Atlanta, Augusta, it really doesn't matter. The city, the size of the city, it happened pretty much throughout the entire country, and to, I would say, disproportionate effect in the South and in the Midwest. Schools get integrated, middle of the 20th century, civil rights struggle, white families, by and large, packed up, moved to the suburbs. You saw the sprawling suburban neighborhoods get built, and you see the inner city core, struggle to stay afloat. You see infrastructure, school, you see water, you see all of these things that need to be continued to be funded at the same levels cannot be because the tax base left for the suburbs. The states in like the South for sure didn't step in to mitigate that in any way, shape, form, or fashion because, well, the conservative-led legislatures, why do they care? Why do they care what the browner, more liberal populations in that state, what do they care? They don't. They don't serve that constituency. You hear politicians all the time talking about, I'm not running for blue or red, I'm running for... It doesn't play out. It doesn't play out in action. It really doesn't. I mean, we heard the president over the 4th of July holiday, for instance, literally say that he doesn't want to be president for Democrats. You see it in his actions. You see it in Republicans' actions. Ted Cruz had a whole lot of criticism for California elected leadership during the wildfires there. Has he said one negative word about Texas and the way they handled their flooding over the weekend? Now, I'm not going to sit here and dive into Texas or, what the governor did or didn't do. It was a freak freak meteorological occurrence, okay? I would argue that more freak meteorological occurrences happen and that they should be paying attention to climate change. But, Texas, it's oil country. And Texas is no stranger to these, once-in-a-lifetime, 1,000-year events. It's happened a lot to Texas over the last 10, 15, 20 years. And yet, they just don't seem to connect the dots. But you're not hearing a whole lot of politicization coming out of the GOP or the Trump White House. Just a lot of, we're here to help. We're going to do whatever we can. Help is on the way. Conservatives really aren't there to help all citizens. Anyway, in cities like Atlanta, Augusta, Macon, Savannah, any city of any size, you had the economic base, the income tax base moved to the suburbs and exurbs, and there was this gulf and gap in funding for decades, y'all. We complain about, the Atlanta city streets are terrible and blame it on the city government. Well, yeah, okay, to some extent, but where's the money coming from to fix it? Like, this is a 30, 40, 50-year problem. We had the water crisis a couple of summers ago, right? I mean, that didn't just happen on Andre Dickens' watch. It built up over time, over lots of mayors' watches, but they also knew that they didn't have the money to fix it. And why didn't they have the money to fix it? Because they've had to keep keep tabs on a large footprint, infrastructure, police, yada, 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 and didn't have the same funding that they did before suburban outmigration, aka white flight. So undoing that or fixing that or overcompensating for that is something that most states have yet to ever try to do. And what Burt Jones wants to do is say, man, that, we're out of here with the income tax. And the school systems that are struggling, the streets, the water repairs, all the infrastructure needs, mass transit. Atlanta badly needs more, not less, more mass transit. That. You're not getting that out of our income tax. Not if Burt Jones becomes governor of the state of Georgia. That's the insinuation. That's what I'm hearing from his campaign ad. It's the Ron Show. All right, final segment of today's Ron Show, and I know we're focusing a lot on Burt Jones running for governor. I think he obviously is well ahead already. Poor old Chris Carr's been running for office. He's got $3.5 million. Burt Jones opened the gates today for his GOP gubernatorial campaign. $14 million cash in hand. Burt Jones ain't like us. Burt Jones ain't even like Chris Carr. Burt Jones is a different cat. Burt Jones is not someone that you or I, or most of us, are going to relate to. He was born into a family that was pretty well off, got even better off over time. Jones Petroleum, if you're not familiar with Jones Petroleum. And listen, I'm not anti-business. I'm very much pro. Hell, I'm a business owner myself. This podcast is a business. This is Gay Media, LLC. That is my LLC. I just launched it. I'm launching a streaming audio station. Launched like 6 weeks ago. I'm doing, but I'm not doing this with Dad's money. I'm not doing this with a private school, Woodward Academy diploma, or getting to go to the University of Georgia and not sweat where my meal is coming from, or the meal ticket plan, or if I'm going to pay for I had to work while going to college. Burt Jones got to walk on to play football. We're not the same. Jones Petroleum is, it's a conglomeration of convenience stores and grocery stores and this, that, and the other that kind of dot Northwest Georgia and South Tennessee, et cetera, and so on. Dad's done very well. And listen, Burt ain't far from it himself. He worked with Jones Petroleum. Says here on his campaign site when he was running for Senate, integral part of growing the diverse, multifaceted company, employing nearly 2,000 Georgians. He also funded JP Capital and Insurance Company, a risk management company specializing in retail insurance brokers. Retail insurance, which I find interesting because, again, let's go back to the income tax thing, or what it's like to have more and to need to pay more into the solvency and ensuring that is protected. Like, I believe this to my core. The progressive tax system works. And it makes sense because those who have more should pay more into ensuring that the government that they are so successful in continues to function well. If an insurance company functioned the way our federal and state governments do, they'd be out of business, right? And we talk about debt and deficit all the time. And folks want to always talk about we need to run the government like a business. I don't believe we do. I don't believe that profits and losses need to be something that we overly fixate on. Do I think our national debt is on an unsustainable path? Oh, absolutely. But I don't think it's because we spend too much on ourselves. We don't. We spend too much on killing other folks. And we spend so much to defend this country that we are just allowing to swirl the drain. Educationally and societally, socioeconomically, of course, climate change, of course, the environment. We don't care about our water or our air. What are we spending all that money to defend if we are just going to allow capitalism to run amok and ruin it? No, I believe, and an insurance man you would think would get this analogy, and I'd love to share it with him at some point in time. So let me get this right, Mr. Insurance Guy. If I own a $750,000 house and my, friend who lives in the mobile home in a rural or more poor part of the state has a $75,000 piece of property and mobile home, that's the entire value. You're going to tell me that we should be paying the same rate? I feel like maybe the person with the giant home has a lot more on the line than the person with the mobile home. Shouldn't that account for something? And I'm not going to sit here and punish Burt Jones for being a private school student, for working for the family business. I would never, who wouldn't, right? But at some point in time, I'm just wondering, when is there going to be that politician that ascends from the right, from this position of privilege, and goes, I've been blessed. I've really been blessed. And I want to see to it that while I can't ensure that others have that same blessing, that at least there are those who may not have the same blessing, but have the same opportunity. And another one to dangle the whole school voucher thing. Oh yeah, it'd all be nice if we could all attend to go to Woodward Academy. Have you been to that campus, by the way? It's gorgeous. It would be, and it would all be nice if we could attend the University of Georgia. Well, we just saw the one big beautiful bill, and that's going to do away with a lot of student loaning and grants, and so screw that. But they point to the school voucher program. Well, that's our way of doing it. Okay, that doesn't, first of all, cover the cost of tuition, nor does it take care of transportation, which public schools tend to do. But it also allows for private educators to teach pretty much whatever it is that they want to teach without any scrutiny from a school board or voters voting for that school board. Not that we're exactly shining examples of that in this state right now anyway, with all these book bans and the poor librarian who lost her job because some kid put a colorful book on the table and they took a picture of it and put it on social media. And now that woman's out of a job. I'm just waiting. When are we going to see that conservative who's going to run for office who realizes, man, I've really been blessed. Look at this. I got a nice house, got a beautiful family, a kennel of dogs. There's a ton of freaking dogs, and there's no cats in these things. Let me tell you something. First politician that shows a cat in their political ad, first of all, they're a Democrat. But second of all, they're going to earn my respect, even if it's a Republican. Show me a Republican running for office with a cat in their video, and I'm going to be like, that person ain't half bad. There's something there. But that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for that conservative that's going to run who realizes the inequities and addresses them. Not with, these disparate income tax scams that progressively benefit the wealthy. Show me, God, when in our lifetime has there been that conservative, that legit conservative Republican politician who addressed inequities or sought to, or actually even, hell, let's just start with acknowledging the inequities to then address them. They have pretended like this stuff didn't exist, like we're making it up. Like when a person of color tells a conservative, I was picking up my friend at the airport last night. I picked up Kia and took her home, and she said that she was in a mixed marriage before. She had married a white woman, and her mother-in-law, always dismissed her stories about being worried about being pulled over by cops. And she asked the mother-in-law, I forget her name, Miss Betsy or whatever her name was, Miss Judy. I think it was Judy. Miss Judy, what happens? How do you feel when you get pulled over for a speeding ticket? She goes, I'm annoyed, and I don't think it's fair, and blah, 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 blah. And Kia said, I'm scared for my life. Dismissed. Oh, I don't believe that. Why? Why? Evidence, empirical evidence, a long history. That's the thing. I'm just wondering if ever at some point in time in our nation's history, I guess we're finally starting to see that conservatives are not pretending climate change isn't legitimate. Now they're to the point where, well, it's happening, but it's not man-made. Okay. You're getting a little closer. Just keep coming. But when will we have that spiritual awakening in this country? Oh, here I'm going religious. I'm not religious. When are we going to have that spiritual awakening in this country that we saw in South Africa, that we saw in Australia with the Aboriginal population, that we saw in Canada trying to make amends with their indigenous population? When are we going to have that spiritual awakening in this country where we realize, my God, over the course of our 249 years of existence, we've really wronged some people over time. And instead of just saying, well, that happened so long ago, what are we supposed to do about it now? That's everybody's born equal today. Obviously not. The outcomes tell you that that's not the case. I'm just waiting for that first conservative politician who's going to run as a serious change agent. And I guess I'm waiting on something that is a pipe dream, because all I saw in a 2-minute 40-some second campaign video were a lot of the same conservative tropes. White guy, private school, walk-on football player, nice Dodge truck coming from the exurban home out in the country, driving the nice 2-lane road, talking to folks in jeans and a cowboy hat and a horse, the Tableau family, and tax cuts that'll progressively benefit the wealthy because it's going to bring business to the state. We've been doing that for a long time now, and it's really yet to deal with the inequality problem. So why do we keep doubling down on that, thinking that that's going to be the solution for all Georgia families, for all American families? It's a lot like the one big beautiful bill that's now a law. It's just a doubling down on more of the same. And we've been swirling that drain since 1981. But he's got $14 million in the war chest, so Burt Jones is the lead horse on the right side at the very least, and really in general. That is going to do it for today's Ron Show. Thank you so much for listening. We air at 9 a.m., 5 p.m. weekdays on America One Radio, 11 p.m. Progressive Voices via TuneIn, or wherever you podcast. Show notes, as always, at ronshowatl.com. Back tomorrow. Have yourselves a great day. We'll see you then.